Welcome to Only One You Need Radio. We're not the only one you need. You are. We just show you how to get out of your own way. With your host, speaker, author, business coach, and consultant, David Dubé.
Welcome to Only One You Need Radio. It's your host, David Dubé. So excited to have you here with me today. In this episode, my friend, you and I are going to be talking about what's been holding you back from just doing what it is that you've always wanted to do. Whether that's moving across the country, around the world, whether it's just starting your business and doing all those things, I don't know. But there's something that's been holding you back from it, that's keeping you from doing it. And I want to talk about that today. And it's crazy to think about. This effectively reaches everyone. And it's crazy to think about this. It really is. You know, I could talk about it. It has to do with mindset. Yes, it does. But this is very particular. There's one word that encompasses what we're going to talk about. One word. Starts with a T and ends with a T. And it's not just T. There's R-U-S in it. Trust. We're talking about trust here. And trust is crazy because it's implied, it's implicit all over the place in our lives. If you leave your house, you have trust. If you get in a car, you trust that no one's going to cross that intersection and hit you. It's implied. That's trust. It's already implicit. We have some level of trust with everyone. And it's weird. It's crazy to think that way. And yet we don't think about these things. We don't think about this word trust and what it really fundamentally means to who we are as individuals and how we exist with other people. And it's crazy that we use it more with other people. It's a currency that we use with other people. But we don't think about that. We don't. And it's weird and crazy kind of at the same time. It's like, wow, I never really thought that until now. But now that I'm hearing it, it makes sense, doesn't it? And there's levels of trust with everyone, right? You might trust your mother and your father, your brother and your sister more than you would someone you just met on the street, obviously. And it's crazy to think about these different levels. But it comes down to one thing, really. And before I get to that one thing, I want to share a story with you. And it's interesting because this is a story that's represented by many different clients of mine. And it's so crazy how many of them have the same thing. And we're all guilty of it. I'm not, just pointing my finger at my clients. I'm guilty of this too. I'm just as guilty as anyone else. But this story rings so true. I mean, I could use this with my mother, and tell you that story. But the one that's most recent, is going to be from my friend this weekend, who she works a job that she's not happy with. She's on salary, and so they overwork her. She works 60 hours a week, and they constantly add more things for her to do. And the expectation is that she's already good at all the things that she does, that she's obviously going to be good at whatever they give her. She's also a mother, and she recently adopted a newborn because of the abuse and neglect, I guess, of this newborn. And so she's taken on this challenge because she has so much love in her to give, that she's going to care for this newborn along with being a mother for the rest of those hours to her other kids, and work 60 hours a week with people that just take advantage of her. And it's interesting because she's had all these physical ailments happening to her as well. And having to go to the doctor, and then she has autoimmune stuff, which, if you think about autoimmune, it's your body rejecting something else of your body. There's this rejection that's being perpetuated in her life because she doesn't like what she's doing. And she has this brilliant business awaiting for her to just start. She already knows what she wants. She already knows what to do. And when I asked, I said, well, so why don't you just start it? She tells me that she's not starting it because she doesn't have enough funding. Like, she thinks she'd need investors, and right now she's like, I can't save fast enough to just leave and do it. Well, that's never going to happen then. And so I asked her another question. And the question was, when you first got pregnant, there was no question in your mind that you weren't going to give this child up. But you also, did you know how you're going to take care of this child? Like, did you know, you didn't care, but you knew you were going to have this child, right? And she was like, oh no, you didn't. You didn't just ask that question. Because the idea for her business is similar to the idea of being pregnant. Yes, it's different in the fact that you're taking care of a physical being, yes. But needless to say, when each of them are born, they grow. And you have to take care of them. And so for her, I was asking, you just knew it would work out, didn't you? She said, yeah, I just knew somehow it was going to work out. So what's the difference between that and this? Yes, one is a physical manifestation, right? A physical child, a human being that needs to be fed and taken care of. But yet, an idea is similar to that. A business is very similar to that. It needs to be fed, needs to, it grows and it grows rapidly. And her, with her skill set, can make that happen. She's worried about funding. She's worried about all these things. The question is, you didn't worry about those things when your child was born. Why are you worrying about those things now when your idea needs to be born? And you know what it is? It's a lack of trust. You see that currency? It's good with other people, but she won't spend it on herself. Isn't that crazy? I want you to think about that. Isn't that crazy? The reason why you haven't begun doing what it is that you want to do is because you lack the trust in yourself and in the process unfolding for you that you want it all done already. We want a guarantee. You and I both want guarantees that if we do X, we are going to get Z. We want that guarantee. And therefore, we haven't started. But when you understand that by doing, just starting, when you start, that's when things coalesce. They come together for you. So we do these mock interviews. I'm a part of one of the chambers here locally. We do these mock interviews. And in sitting down with these individuals, I ask, how do you prepare for an interview? What is it that you do currently? And if they haven't been in one, obviously that would make sense. They wouldn't know, besides what they're being told what to do up until the point of me meeting them and going through this process. And I ask, what differentiates you from the next person? Why do I want to hire you from Bob over here or Jane? And it's interesting to see and hear the responses from these individuals. They struggle so much to figure out how to answer that. Understandably so. And for me, by the time we're done, I'm asking them to stand out from the crowd. Do something different. Make them seek you out instead of you seeking them out. And if you've sought them out and you want them to notice you, what can you do to get them to notice you? You see, you leverage what you know and you tip or tilt the table in your favor. And the best way to do that in the case of, interviewing, is to do something that calls them to look at you differently. Now, one of the individuals I had interviewed, she wants to be a writer. And so I'm asking about context and what she's written before. And in doing this, I'm like, what could you write on now? So if you want to be hired for, City Pages magazine or whatever, or Cosmopolitan or Newsweek, what could you start to do now, today, and write today that gets them to view your content and say, we need her on our team? As opposed to interviewing, hoping to get a position on their team. Because in the doing, you're creating something already. And in the creation, you attract things to you. But when you don't create and you beg, because that's when you go for a job, who's got more power? The person providing the job or the person interviewing for the job? Most cases, the person hiring for the position. Yes. But what if they found you because of how good you already are, because of how high of a skill set you have, and now you have, Newsweek, The Post, New York Times, all vying for you to work for them. Who's got more power now? Obviously you. That's the point. In doing, you get more. And that trust begins to build on its own then. Think about that. If every day you woke up and you gave energy to someone else instead of keeping it for yourself, you're paying them with your energy instead of paying yourself. Who's going to get the dividends on that energy? You or them? They are. But when you put energy into you and what you want and what you desire, where do those dividends come out? They come out on your side. They come out for you. The benefit is you. You are the beneficiary now. You have to think about these things. Most people don't think about that. It's the trust you have in you, your ideas, your ideals, and implementation of those things that create the results that you have in your life. If you're already amazing at what you do for someone else, how much more amazing could you be for yourself? What's stopping you from working for you? It's the fact that you don't trust yourself enough, and you don't also trust in the process enough of getting the results. And the crazy part about this, the craziest thing about this whole thing, is it's instinctual. It's instinctual. You are living way too much in your head. Your mind has conquered your body. Your ego owns you. And when your ego owns you, and when you have to rationalize everything, you lose the rightness of you, your instinct. You lose access to instinct. Let me ask you this question. Have you ever been in a situation where someone told you something and you wanted so badly to believe them, even though you felt a little off about it? Later on to find that they absolutely lied to you, ripped you off, or took something from you? Ever have that happen to you? You felt a way about it, but you ignored that feeling. How about you think about leaving, whether it's like you're leaving work early or whatever, and you're like, I should leave now. You just had this feeling that it was the right time, but you ignored it. And then what happened was you ended up staying way longer and later than you wanted to, or you got caught up or wrapped up in something new that maybe you felt was a waste of time later on. We do this all the time to ourselves. We paint ourselves in a corner because we forget that our instinct is always right. And when our mind made us second guess it, we screwed ourselves. This happens all the time. Constantly. I deal with that more than anything else in all of my coaching and consulting. We constantly lie to ourselves because we want to believe so badly in what other people are telling us and showing us and giving us. And yet, we don't believe in ourselves. We don't trust in ourselves, and we don't trust in the process enough. You do, and things will happen. You don't do and hope and pray and wait. And guess what? It never happens. Nothing comes of it. Because why? You waited. So start today. If you want a worksheet on this, if you want to work on something with this, you do the worst case scenario thing. Write your goal at the top of the paper and write what was the worst thing that could possibly happen if you left your job to do whatever it is that you want to do. And then what's the best case scenario? You might as well go there as well. And then what would the average scenario be? If you actually dedicated yourself to it, got it done, made it happen. And then think about last time this happened to you. The last time you were questioned doing something, but you decided to do it anyway. Even though you had self-doubt and you were worried that it wasn't going to work out. Did it all work out for you? Yeah, probably did, didn't it? You're still okay. You're still alive. Yep, that must mean it worked out for you. Did the worst happen that you thought would? No. We do this all the time to ourselves. We play in our mind's eye. We play again and again the worst case scenario. 99.99999% of the time, none of it comes to fruition. If you feel that this was useful to you, if this was helpful to you, do me a solid. Share this with people you know. Subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you are listening to this on podcast, subscribe. Leave feedback. I would love to know what you think of this. Comment on the video if you're watching this on YouTube. Whatever, wherever. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm David Dubé with Only One You Need Radio. It's time that you be the person you're meant to be. Believe in all that you're capable of and become more than you thought imaginable. I'll catch you on the next episode.